Hi everyone and welcome. I see that people are joining, so I guess we will give just a few seconds for everyone to have the time to attend, and we will kick off. Um, so I'll stay on mute for a few seconds. Okay, I think we can start anyway to with a brief intro for everyone to have the time also to join. So welcome everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening. Thanks for joining this session, which will be then dedicated to the GlobalBlock product or initiative. During this session, we will explore the diverse possibilities and advantages that this product offers to all brand owners, whether or not already subscribers, as we will see, of a blocking product. For this session, we are lucky to have with us Ben Anderson and Tony Kirsch from the Brand Safety Alliance, the founding and managing structure of this product. I will leave the floor promptly to Tony and Ben for them to introduce themselves in more detail and kick off with the presentation. Before that, just a brief word to introduce myself. Thank you. I'm Matthieu Aubert. I'm managing brand protection product and services within Team Internet, formerly CentralNIC, within the brand services division. I'm representing today BrandShelter, as you can see, but also our sister companies as Safe Brands, for instance, for which we will organize the French version of this webinar in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that for those who could be interested. But also companies like Nick Manager, Internexum, NameAction, IPM. I work in the domain name industry for about 16 years now, and had the chance then to follow the evolution of our internet landscape, managing from a corporate accredited registrar perspective, launches of .xxx, new GTLDs, and then product like DPML and AdultBlock I'll manage. As Ben and Tony know, I used to ask a lot of questions. Sorry for that, so not to disturb them. I'll probably do the same during the presentation, but we'll leave them take over. I'm pleased to be part of this presentation dedicated then to the first cross-registries product of this extent that many brand owners were expecting to be created one day. The DPML, as I guess you know, when the AdultBlock system were at the beginning, but were limited to TLDs managed by the registry, the corresponding registry. So I guess finding the right model and consensus with different entities is not an easy ride. A little bit perhaps like the ICANN governance experience eventually. But I'm thrilled then to explore this product and more exactly as we will see these products with you all. Please note then that this webinar is recorded and we will send follow-up email and you will have information regarding the recording by itself. And you should find on the top bar a Q&A menu from where you can ask anonymously some questions. So we will do our best to have a look during the presentation, but anyway, we will have a dedicated session at the end of the webinar. Don't worry, we will handle most of the questions at the end. Thank you very much, and thanks then, Tony, Ben. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Matthieu. Hello, everybody, and very great to be here, and thank you for the warm welcome. This is a very exciting time for us. As Matthieu mentioned, my name is Tony Kirsch. I'll maybe have a 30-second introduction for myself and then ask Ben to do the same. I am, for some crazy reason, almost 20 years in the domain name industry in a variety of different roles. In particular, the last 10 years, looking after registries, and in particular of those helping a lot of the large companies in the world with their .brand portfolio and so on. So many years in both a combination of registry world and then a combination of assisting very large companies with their involvement within the ICANN industry, as Matthieu mentioned. Ben, would you do the same, and then we'll kick off?
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Ben Anderson. Much like Matthieu and Tony, I'm a long-term servant of the domain name industry, having spent a lot of time early on in the corporate domain name world, at some large corporate domain name registrars, and then moved over to the supply side, the registry area, and have spent the last few years holding various positions at registries that have ultimately been consumed as the industry continues to consolidate.
Thank you. So as we said, this is a very exciting opportunity for us to meet with you today. GlobalBlock has been in general availability now for 3 weeks. Been a very exciting 3 weeks. We're a little tired, but and as Matthieu mentioned, this project has been the first of its kind. It's the first time that we've ever collaborated as a domain name industry. The Brand Safety Alliance is part of the GoDaddy registry family. But we've really built this project to listen to the needs of intellectual property owners in a way that we believe has never been done before by the domain name community. We've spent a lot of time with our customers preparing for this product and understanding what we believe that brands have been asking for a very long period of time. So as I said, it's an interesting project, I think, to share with you. Ben and I have been doing this together now for 2 years, and very excited to be at this point now where it's now live. And in particular today, as Matthieu mentioned, please feel free to ask us questions. There's a lot to share with you here about what we've built, the features, and the ideas of what we've done with GlobalBlock. And the Brand Safety Alliance, which is really just the holding company for this product. We really have designed this project to do 2 things. One was to bring the industry together and provide one simple and effective alternative for brand owners to block and protect your intellectual property, rather than having to manage lots and lots of defensive registrations. And the product has continually been, in our mind, customer focused as to what we can do within the range of policy considerations and commercial realities to really simplify the role that domain names have within your organizations. And we're going to talk to you about what we think the future looks like. The second thing that we focused on is continuing to evolve. So GlobalBlock is the first product of its type. We call it the world's unified domain name blocking service, and it will continue to be so. We're going to continue to add more and more protection to this service. And we really see this as becoming the industry standard, or ultimately what brand owners will use in the long term to be able to have a portfolio of domain names that you use in your marketing or technical activity, and then a service like GlobalBlock, which will help you to protect your brand across the internet while you sleep. So very excited to be here. I'm going to ask Ben to show you through some of those features, but more importantly, perhaps start with a little bit of context and some history around domain name blocking.
Thanks, Tony, and welcome everyone. So the concept of blocking is not a new one. Rights holders were first introduced to the concept of domain blocking at the launch of the then controversial TLD.XXX back in 2011. And nearly 90,000 brands and trademark holders sought the protection of domain blocking in XXX. And that decision to block afforded those brands peace of mind for over a decade, with no renewals, name server management or monitoring required. And as many of you know, that service transitioned into the product that we now know as Adult Block, which includes all the other adult themed TLDs. In between that and the advent of the new GTLD program, at the advent of the new GTLD program, Identity Digital, who were formerly known as Donuts, introduced the DPML product, which was groundbreaking at that time in so much that included all of the TLDs in their portfolio and extended blocking protection past the exact match of a trademark to also include homoglyphs, or in more simple terms, confusable characters. All of these products have been immensely popular and successful in protecting brands and trademark holders, with the most recent service, Adult Block, resonating with clients from every conceivable industry vertical, as well as geographic location. It's worth noting that there have been a few other blocking services launched during this time, but most have fallen short or ceased to exist because they weren't able to address the needs of brand and trademark holders. So we built GlobalBlock with lessons from those failed services and true customer needs in mind. This service has been built on the success and demand of DPML and Adult Block, and is really an evolution of the services that have come before it. So what is GlobalBlock? This product's been in the making, as Tony said, for, well, now over 2 years. And we've been looking at ways to improve the customer experience when blocking domains. Tony and I have spent countless hours trying to find out exactly what it is that clients want from blocking. And this evolution we're talking about here is, in fact, that this service is unparalleled in its features for both agents and customers. The revolution here is the breadth of service, bringing everyone together. Matthieu mentioned, much like ICANN, well, the fact that we've been able to do this within 2 years and bring nearly everyone together is very unlike ICANN, because we found consensus, we found something that works, and we've implemented it to, hopefully, the benefit of those attending today. This was something that was sort of asked for at the advent of the new GTLD program, just for the new GTLDs. But as you'll see, we've gone past that, and I think GlobalBlock is delivering on that need that's been asked for many years. So much like DPML and Adult Block, we're providing 2 flavors of GlobalBlock. There's the standard service and the plus service. The GlobalBlock service blocks a single rights label across all the participating TLDs and extensions. But it doesn't stop there. You'll see there's some killer features that we've added to GlobalBlock, and we'll share information about those with you a little bit later on. GlobalBlock Plus does everything that GlobalBlock does, but we've widened the protection to include all the variations of a trademark, or what we call a main label. And based on those labels, we're going even further by creating variants using our own typo error library. And that's where we replace Latin characters with confusable non-Latin script characters that look similar. I think sort of the main question that will be is, which service is right for me? And it's quite simple, really. If a brand has a trademark with, say, spaces or special characters, such as an ampersand or an apostrophe, then they should probably look at the plus service, because we include all the variations where those spaces are omitted or replaced. And we'll also convert that trademark into DNS permissible variations and block all those as well. So this is relevant for brands that want protection in the IDN space. And with our typo library, we'll block every variant without limitation.
So as Ben said, this GlobalBlock Plus has become increasingly popular. And I think many of you will understand the concept of protecting yourself in those lookalike spaces. What we've seen over the last 3 weeks is a very consistent and significant use of GlobalBlock Plus for the very modest price increase that happens in that platinum service. And this homoglyph confusable concept we wanted to sort of share with you here. You'll see here in the examples on the screen, many of those, we've just used GlobalBlock as the example for today. You'll see many of those labels there, and sort of visually, your initial response will be, well, it doesn't really look all that different. But they are non-Latin characters that are being generated in certain spots, and clearly very capable of being used in phishing attacks or other scam behavior to confuse your customers. So we know the internet's not perfect. We know that the way that the domain name structure is not perfect. But this is an opportunity to use some advanced technology to get additional labels. And in many cases, we're talking tens of thousands of domain names that will be provided in addition to your core trademark as additional protection in domain names for your service. And to illustrate this for you, this page is live. You can go to the globalblock.co website right now and type in the name of the company and type in or select the area in which your trademark has been registered and press calculate. We're going to show you some examples of what would happen if you did that for GlobalBlock right now. So you'll see here instantly that we have over around 560 extensions that exist in GlobalBlock today. And just by simply using GlobalBlock, we could generate almost 55,000 variations of that as part of the GlobalBlock Plus service. Now, as Ben mentioned, the more complicated that your trademark becomes, whether it's through spaces, multiple words, or indeed characters like ampersands, this is what would happen if we moved into a space of the word GlobalBlock. So I have two parts to the trademark. And you can see instantly that the level of protection increases, both through the labels, the main labels that we refer to. So you would get protection, a full GlobalBlock service in GlobalBlock in one string, and you would also get it with a hyphen in between. And again, as I expand that out, if it was global and block, based upon your jurisdiction, we will then create multiple labels. So you get multiple GlobalBlock full services as part of this. And to receive, in some cases, as I said, tens, if not hundreds of thousands of domain names that match your brand is incredible value. And as we all understand, this, there will always be bad actors and they will always find a way around it. But if we can make it a little harder for them by protecting your brand across as many extensions as possible, this is ultimately what we're trying to achieve with GlobalBlock and GlobalBlock Plus.
And Tony, sorry to interrupt, but I think on that and perhaps you will mention it later, but is the mechanism to protect the variants is identical to the DPML +1, or I think there are some improvements, right? Or some differences regarding the coverage?
Yeah, that's right. So it's very similar, Matthieu, in the way that we go about it.
Okay.
A couple of main, like the actual algorithm itself is a little different to DPML, but the main difference that you've just seen there is as the brand becomes more complicated with the spaces or the ampersands or the word and, that we create new global blocks for each one at no extra cost.
Thank you.
So as Ben mentioned, we've got a few things here to show you what we think are some killer features that we've really spent a lot of time here to develop for you. We're going to show you a little bit about what we've done in terms of coverage. Many conversations with almost every TLD operator in the planet over the last 2 years has led us to this point and will continue to help us. We're going to show you a little bit about how we block and what that means for you and why it's the next evolution of benefit to brand owners around the world. And then we'll talk about some of the features, how we can help you to save money, what that means for you in terms of additional features that we have within the product and what they mean for you in your day-to-day activities. And I'll let Ben run through that with you.
Cool. Thanks, Tony. So as you saw on the last slide, and this number is constantly increasing. We currently protect in over 560 TLD extensions, and that number is rising. We expect to add a few more next week, and we'll continue to add extensions as our partners come on board and become technically capable. We have quite a stringent process in terms of testing to allow TLDs into GlobalBlock. We want to make sure the service that you receive is seamless. So we've not just included new GTLDs, we include legacy GTLDs within this product as well as CCTLDs and Web3 or blockchain extensions. So we also have Unstoppable, their whole stable of blockchain extensions within the service. And this will continue to grow over time. You can see here ourselves and Identity Digital. We're the founding registries within this, and then our friends, and in some cases competitors from across the industry have also joined to bring the TLDs that they own or operate on behalf of others into the service. Now, how does this work? And I think I saw a question pop up, and I know we'll do some Q&A at the end, but what I want to make clear in terms of how this product works is we do not register domains. So this isn't a registration at the registry of the labels that match your trademark. We've developed new technology that allows registry service providers, the people that manage the TLDs, they implement that within their system, and using that technology, they block or prohibit domains that match your trademark from registration. Now, some could say, or some people have asked, is this just reserving names? Well, we don't even place them in reserve. This is new technology that allows you to block names inside the registry, but also query whether or not they are blocked. So a whois command for a name that you have blocked will show that the name is protected by GlobalBlock or GlobalBlock Plus. It won't say who the registrant is. It's just a simple response to give the registrants assurance that GlobalBlock is working on their behalf. So this technology sits beneath the registry layer and prevents others from registering your name. But a good consequence of that is some of the additional features that have been added to this as well. And that confused me because that was the wrong way around, but I'll get to that in a minute. But the cost savings, and you should speak to your representative within BrandShelter or the Team Internet of Families to see what the potential cost savings are for your brand, with no longer the need to register and maintain a domain in a TLD that perhaps isn't relevant to your business or you don't wish to use. Swapping that out for a block brings cost savings to all brands that use this service, and that's something that you should talk to your representative at BrandShelter or Team Internet about, in terms of the savings that it'll bring you for your portfolio, but also allowing you to block in TLDs that maybe are difficult to register in, where you don't meet the eligibility requirements, haven't been registered because of budgetary constraints, or in the case of emerging technologies like Web3, is something that your company is still trying to understand. And so defensively blocking inside that area whilst you're trying to figure out what to do could be the right approach.
Yeah, if I may on that, indeed, Ben, and I think indeed the GlobalBlock will offer a peace of mind, if I could say, to get a cost-effective protection that will give also the possibility to stay focused on the registration strategy by registering the domain name that you all want to use directly, or you would like to reserve to be able to use them in the future due to expansion plans, etc. Then to be focused on some defensive registration that you would like to own. But indeed, it will be all about finding the right balance between the registration, and this will for sure offer you a peace of mind regarding some type of registration, some potential domain names which could be abusively registered by third parties. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. So one of the benefits of the technology that we've created is what we're calling priority auto catch, because the concept of blocking sits beneath registered domains. Where a name is currently registered and you apply for a block, whilst we don't take registered names away from current holders, this blocking sits beneath the registered layer. So when a name is not renewed or it expires, the priority auto catch will seize the domain at the instant that it becomes available. And in fact, because of the technology, the name never becomes available. So if you own a name and you apply a block against it and you decide to let that registration lapse, it will automatically become part of your block. If a third party owns the registration and they fail to renew it or decide to delete it, then it automatically becomes yours once the grace period is finished. So there'll be no more need for drop catching, as it's known, or trying to get names at the moment they become available. With GlobalBlock, Priority Auto Catch will work on your behalf constantly to grab names that become available. And in a similar way to some other blocking services, there is the ability to unblock names, but we've made some changes to this. We don't think it's right that you have to pay to unblock a name. So domain unblocking, taking a name out of your block and then using it, whether or not you've suddenly decided to use that TLD because it's become relevant to part of your business, or if you're opening up in a different geography and that CCTLD is part of GlobalBlock, you're able to take the name out of the block and register it at the standard registration fee, or the fee at that moment in time for the registration, and start using the name, whether be that's a strategic use or a tactical use. And you can use that for as long as possible or as long as you want to. And then if you no longer want the name or need the name, you can let it lapse and it will become part of your GlobalBlock again, as long as your GlobalBlock remains active. So you can take names in and out of the block at any moment in time and use them how you see fit, and then retire them again. Tony, perhaps you could just give us an overview on the reports and what clients can see.
Sure. So as Ben mentioned, part of our customer research here has led us to this view that your businesses are dynamic and that your domain strategy and your IP protection also needs to be dynamic. So what you've seen so far through those features is an ability to protect and have your GlobalBlock and your blocking strategy be dynamic. We're going to be adding names through priority auto catch while you sleep, and we're going to give you the ability to be able to unblock names as and when you need them. And we're going to continue to add more coverage to these services. And all of this happens free of charge. So as we add more coverage, it automatically gets added to your brand. And we'll be adding up to, we expect 650 to 700 extensions by the end of this year. And potentially we'll be adding another 100 or 200 extensions each year as we move along. Like, the domain name space doesn't sit still. And we needed to make sure that we had a product that was able to show you and deliver this service to you. So as you unblock names, as they're being added to your account, or of course, as we add more extensions, as for existing customers, all of this happens automatically on your behalf, and there's no additional service, no additional fee. So the reports will be able to be generated by BrandShelter for you. So as Ben mentioned earlier, please consult with your representative to assist you with this program. The preliminary report gives you an inside view of what will happen for your organization if you purchase a GlobalBlock, and you'll have that data and have it available to you before you make that decision. So we can show you what names are unavailable. It can become part of your strategy in reviewing names that perhaps you don't own, but you're not sure if others do. That preliminary report is an incredibly valuable asset. And then the context of the dynamic report is what I was just referring to. At any point in time, you can request a list and see what has been happening within your GlobalBlock service. BrandShelter will be able to show you what names have been added, what additional coverage has been provided to you, and all of these things give you this feel at any point in time that you'll have access to that information. So who is eligible for GlobalBlock? We do have 4 categories. This is consistent with what the Adult Block program that you can see here. I won't read them out to you. We do have the ability for concepts beyond traditional registered trademarks to participate. This was again feedback that was provided to us by the community, because in some cases legitimate intellectual property rights are not able to be registered in a pure trademark fashion. So we have various categories of this. Your burden of proof will of course change depending on those, and it is a little more onerous as you move away from registered trademarks, so we can verify that we are in fact blocking the right domains for the right organization and maybe and not doing that incorrectly. For every GlobalBlock order, there must be verified rights that are provided. If you are a holder of any of the services you can see at the bottom of the screen, in particular Adult Block and DPML, or perhaps you had a Sunrise B in the .XXX program that Ben was talking about earlier, you do not need to have your trademark or your rights verified again. We have automatic codes that BrandShelter can put in there for you, and that your eligibility is pre-verified and your order can be placed straight away. For those of you that were not part of that program, or perhaps you've got a new product or subsidiary or something that didn't have one of those services, that verification process happens for you free of charge. That's embedded in the price of GlobalBlock. It typically takes us about 24 to 48 hours to go through that process and check your documentation. And again, you'll be guided through this by your BrandShelter representative. So in terms of what we can do for you today, for those of you that have been what we call our Founders Program, you've enjoyed the benefits of blocking before, you will automatically be eligible for a 10% discount on your first purchase of GlobalBlock. And for some of you, that may be just a 1-year registration for GlobalBlock, or for those of you that are looking to save additional additional costs, you can of course take a 2 or 3 year. That's the maximum we do in GlobalBlock, because we're going to continue to add additional coverage. So what we're seeing over the last 3 weeks is a very significant percentage of our orders are in fact 3-year GlobalBlocks. Not only does it give the customer the 10% discount on all 3 years, what it also does is it protects you from any increases in prices in GlobalBlock over that 3-year period. So as we add more and more extensions over time, there will be modest increases in the price. You can protect yourself from that for at least a 3-year period if you have the budget to be able to look to a 3-year GlobalBlock. That program for the early adopter program will finish at the end of May this year. So it's a really significant opportunity for brand owners to save some additional capital costs as you're doing this brand protection program and starting to benefit from some of those cost savings that Ben was referring to before. Now, I think we sort of talked about this then in terms of the IPR numbers. It's not particularly relevant for the brands, but what we do is we generate IPR codes or intellectual property rights numbers. That's the code that we'll use. And as I mentioned before, you only need to be verified if you do not have that existing right. Something that we thought we'd add in here just for context is a little comparison between our friends at Identity Digital and their DPML product, and of course what we're doing here with GlobalBlock. And the 2 things that I'll draw your attention to are the concept of what we're doing here with Web3. We understand, as Ben mentioned, that many organizations haven't yet formulated their strategy for Web3, or for some of it, it can kind of feel a little bit like a dark art that perhaps we're not really sure what it is, and blocking gives you the ability to protect yourself in those spaces. And if you change your mind in the future and decide to participate, then you have the option for domain unblocking to participate in that space. So we've seen a lot of interest through our involvement with Web3. And the other thing that really stands out for me, yes, obviously you can see a noticeable distance or difference in coverage. The 2 other things I think that are really important is we're going to continue to add more and more CCTLD extensions. We know that that's a problem spot for many brands. There are lots of them around the world. It will not surprise you to hear that we haven't got all of the CCTLDs working with us yet, but these are the spaces that we will continue to add. And as we add them, and as I was mentioning in the previous slide, as we add more protection, existing GlobalBlock customers receive that protection instantly and at no additional cost.
And if I may, Tony, on the CCTLD side, it's then what is covered. It's the 2nd level CCTLD and all the corresponding subdomains, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So in many of them, you can all for the people listening today, if you go to the globalblock.co website, you can look at all of the extensions. We don't hide them. You can see exactly what is being covered. And as Matthieu mentioned, in many cases, there is a CCTLD and there will be subzones within that CCTLD. And from a brand protection perspective, we think all of those are important. They are all risk vectors that need to be protected by brand owners. Thank you for the question. So if you are a DPML customer, we also have some variations in the service that we can provide you. If your service expires in the next 12 months or just under the 12-month period, purchasing a GlobalBlock service will allow you to delete your DPML at any point in time prior to your expiry, and we will automatically cover and catch all of that service that you have with your DPML and roll it into your GlobalBlock service. If, however, you've purchased a DPML for multiple years in advance, we know that there's been some people who have expiries up to 8-9 years from now in DPML. We don't want you to be disadvantaged. So we do have a product. It's called the DPML bridging service. If you work with your representative at BrandShelter, they'll be able to guide you through this. Ultimately, it is a Delta service, or the GlobalBlock coverage that's not included by DPML. So if you do have, and you've already spent several large amounts of money on protecting your brand in DPML for a long period of time, there is a product alternative there for you to be able to explore with your BrandShelter representative. And here, I guess, to sort of, getting close to the end of our presentation, we really want to focus on this ability for DPML owners to receive protection from what they have. For many of you, there will be a DPML Plus service that you may have received where you may have added additional labels to your brand. At the moment, GlobalBlock is an exact match service, but if you have received an additional demand, for example, your GlobalBlock may be for GlobalBlock as a brand, but you may have had another word attached at either side of your trademark, you can, through BrandShelter, receive protection in that. So please understand that even though we're doing exact match for GlobalBlock, if you have additional labels within your DPML service, we also will be able to help you and protect those. That's a little bit more customized. You'll need to work with BrandShelter to work that out. So moving forward, what does that mean for the Brand Safety Alliance? We will not stop and we will not rest. The Brand Safety Alliance has already 6 or 7 products in our roadmap. And as much as we love the future, we love GlobalBlock, we've also got many, many more exciting things to share with you over the coming years. So as I said, we expect that we're going to have up to 700 different variations of the extensions very, very soon to protect you in. What does that mean? It means more GTLDs, it means more CCTLDs, it means more Web3. And then, of course, what we will be proactively doing is protecting your brands in any the recent or the upcoming program with ICANN for new GTLDs. So it appears likely that the applications will be submitted and available within ICANN in 2026. GlobalBlock will begin that process and start to protect you in those namespaces as part of that. So we will continue to expand the coverage and the protection that we're going to provide you in GlobalBlock, and we'll continue to add new features and things like that that make your life easier as brand owners. Now, as a product and service offering from the Brand Safety Alliance, we will not stop there either. We've got additional ideas that we're going to provide you beyond GlobalBlock. And ultimately, our vision here is to make the internet safer for brands and consumers. And from that perspective, we're very excited about the future. So I guess with all of that, that's a lot of information. We appreciate your time. I can see we've got some questions. I hope that was helpful. And in advance of the questions, thank you for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity to share what has been a very fun and slightly challenging 2-year period for our team. As I said, we're very humbled to be at this point and excited to talk to you about the fact that it's live and available for customers as of today. With that, Matthieu, I'll pass back to you.
Thank you, Wolf. I already respond to some questions, but save most of them indeed for now. So I'll ask them to both of you. We have, for instance, a question regarding what happened in case there are 2 brand owners of the same brand, identical one, who apply for GlobalBlock. From my understanding, it is possible to have 2 blocks protecting the same brand, as it was the case also for the products. Is it still the case? And if one of the two want to use a domain name actively, is it possible?
Well, maybe I'll have the first one, Ben, and I'll hopefully the second question is more complicated, and then you can take the hard one. Your understanding is correct, Matthieu. We had a range of alternative options to consider here, as you would probably imagine. The short version of the story is that we concluded that brand owners need the ability to protect themselves. Some brands, for example, if they may have the exact same trademark in different jurisdictions or in different categories, it's not reasonable for us to create a situation, as we do in domain names, which is sometimes challenging, as everyone will know, about first come, first served. If we created a situation where the first company, for example, registered a GlobalBlock but didn't want GlobalBlock Plus, or for example, did a 1-year registration, but the other brand wanted to do 2 or 3, we needed the ability to allow brand owners to protect themselves and have control of their own destiny. So it's a little, it's one of those challenging policy conversations that we had to have. But ultimately, yes, your understanding is correct. Multiple people can apply for a GlobalBlock, individual GlobalBlocks for the same brand name. The only difference, as you alluded to, is the domain unblocking feature. If there is only one GlobalBlock for a particular brand, they can unblock domains as they see fit. If there are multiple, we will need to obtain the consent, which the Brand Safety Alliance does on your behalf, of the competing trademarks. And if that's not provided, we have a dispute mechanism to be able to move through with that. But ultimately, if there is a competing trademark with multiple GlobalBlocks for the same brand, consent is required from the other parties before domain unblocking occurs. Other than that, the product remains exactly the same.
I think you're on mute, Matthieu.
Sorry, thank you, Ben. I was looking at the questions on the other screen and just forgot about that. One other question is, do we have the option to choose the additional terms ourselves, or is it limited? Is it a list of terms provided by the platform? I would say that it's package and that we get coverage for everything, right?
Yeah, so our coverage and our blocking is based on the exact match of the trademark and variants thereof. So you don't have the ability to wildcard by adding key terms at the front or the back. So we have a defined algorithm that takes a trademark and generates the variants based on that algorithm. So it's always predictable. So for this initial product, we don't allow the choice of keywords or key terms inside of the labels that we protect. This is something that I know has been available in other services and maybe is something that people have been looking for in terms of maybe niche classifications. This is within our product roadmap and something we're considering for the future as an evolution of GlobalBlock.
Thank you. And I think, however, if I understood correctly, for DPML plus owners, indeed used to have additional labels. Via the GlobalBlock Plus product, they can choose, if they use the bridging product, they can choose the main label they want to be to be covered by the variants, right?
Well, yeah. So just a point of clarification on that. If you own a DPML today and you have those additional DPML labels with key terms inside them, we will cover those as part of GlobalBlock. So we'll honor what's already been blocked inside of the Identity Digital TLDs inside of GlobalBlock. But and that within the Plus service, that will be everything that currently sits protected by DPML. Yeah, so if you just want the standard GlobalBlock service where we don't do all the variations of the main labels, then you can choose one of the DPML terms that you have covered in the DPML Plus service.
Thank you, Ben. Another one is, I guess I'll take this one because it's more about strategy. I think our domain name registration strategy, we have a question which is there a service to recover already registered and infringing domains? So what I guess you both explain is that via the GlobalBlock product, you have the auto catch. So any domain name corresponding to the scope in which is already registered will integrate the GlobalBlock upon its potential expiration. However, indeed, if there is any other type of infringing domain, it's more, there are some possibilities of action which are aside from the GlobalBlock and more about how to enforce the rights or find the right type of action. And we are here to help each of our clients or interested parties on that to find the right solution. So yeah, it's a little bit different. Looking anyway, do we have an idea? But I guess you already said that some other TLDs will be onboarded over the time. We have some questions regarding if we have an idea of some potential ones. I think it will be something evolving, right?
Yeah, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, I can see the questions around particular registries. We're working with everybody to the best of our ability. I suspect that there will be some organisations that do not want to participate in GlobalBlock. We can't force them. All we can do is make the product as beneficial as possible. So perhaps some of the the very large registries may find themselves in a situation where they don't want to participate in GlobalBlock. But certainly our intention is to continue to work with everybody and add as many as we can. We've got, as Ben mentioned before, I think I can sort of off the top of my head, I can think of at least 10 different GTLD, individual GTLDs that will be joining in the next month. We've also got somewhere between 20 and 40 CCTLD extensions that are very close to finalising their program with us, both commercially and technically. So, we will be adding a lot more extensions and different providers to the service as we go along. But I can see the question from, and to address it specifically, one of your, the question was around CentralNic. They had not joined the program now. This is no secret. You can see that on the GlobalBlock website in terms of the extensions, but we hope to have that done relatively quickly.
Yes, indeed. I'm sorry, I'm having a look at the other one. Yeah, so for this one we said, okay. I think we almost, yeah, I think we're okay so far. If anyone has any other questions, don't hesitate to jump in.
Maybe, Matthieu, if I just clarify, because I've seen someone just on the back of the discussion on DPML. So DPML protection is not ending. DPML will continue, but the intention is for GlobalBlock to be the main service for blocking. So DPML is not ending, and of course you're free to continue to renew your DPML or purchase new ones. However, the bridging service is only available for DPMLs that were registered prior to our launch. So if you want protection across the 600 TLDs plus and the Web3 extensions, then GlobalBlock is the product and service for you. But you can continue to keep your DPML for as long as it remains.
Thank you. One question also regarding TMCH registration. Is it part of the exception to, I guess, avoid validation, right? If you have a TMCH. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, if you have a TMCH SMD file, you can use that to validate your GlobalBlock application / registration. We recognize that many people have lapsed their TMCH registrations now because there's not many sunrises happening anymore. And that's why we have our own validation service, which is provided by a third party. So to clarify, we're not validating trademarks. A third party is doing that. So you can use your SMD file. And just to see, sorry, the question that's come in. So yeah, all the labels in the SMD file. So the A label is the main label. That's what we call it. And then the U labels, the whole bunch beneath that, we use that same logic to create the variant labels in GlobalBlock Plus. So whatever your SMD file says, though you will get that main label and all the additional variant labels in GlobalBlock Plus. If you don't have an SMD file and you apply for rights verification through the GlobalBlock service, then you'll get exactly the same additional labels within the GlobalBlock Plus service.
Thank you. Another question is if someone owns then DPML or adult block, do he need to apply for GlobalBlock via the same provider or no, because we have verification number, as you mentioned, I guess?
Yes, the IPR numbers that Tony was referring to earlier, that's the file that you can use to apply for GlobalBlock. Those are agent or registrar agnostic. So they can be used by any accredited agent to apply for a GlobalBlock on behalf of the rights holder. So yep, you can use any accredited agent that you choose.
Thank you very much, both of you. I guess we addressed all the questions received up to now, and I can see in them we were conscious of the timing also. So perhaps just few words to as a conclusion, and of course, if you have any questions, yeah, thank you for that. You have our detail here on the BrandShelter side. We hope that this session gave you a clear understanding of the product, the features, interest, the choice of the right product also between, I guess, standard and the GlobalBlock Plus will, I think, depend of the brand for companies, for instance, who own main and secondary ones, etc. So it's about finding the most interesting product corresponding also to the registration and the online strategy. If you have also an adult block or DPML, which in this case expire before to February 28th next year, you must, we think, consider the registration before end of May this year to benefit, as I think Tony mentioned, from the founder program discounts. If you have DPML which expire after that, you could do, I guess, a combo, but benefit from the bridging product and the founder program. So it was very interesting anyway to have this session, and I really hope you find responses and you have a clearest overview of the product. You will on our side receive a follow-up email in the coming day just to catch up on that. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to respond and to rely on Ben and Tony to respond to that if we don't have direct question. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Tony, Ben, if you Want to say a last word? Yeah, go ahead. Otherwise, I guess we can close the session anyway.
No, I think we've covered everything, Matthieu. Thank you to our friends at BrandShelter for the opportunity to speak with everyone today. We hope that this was beneficial, and look forward to working with everyone in the future.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks to all. Have a nice day, evening. Hope to see you soon.